So I've just started the recording. It's the 27th of June 2015, nearly the end of the financial year here, isn't it, Pete?
It is indeed.
And pretty much halfway. So hopefully everybody's tracking well with their program, and the part of your progress is to ensure that you're part of these sessions, part of your local user groups, and if you're not sure, give Pete a call.
Yes, that's precisely the way to go. All right, well, today, folks... Oh, sorry, Matt.
No, mate, I have nothing else. I'm just going to move this question box over to this other screen so I can keep a bit of an eye on what's going on. Oh,
do you want to sit? Oh, you can take it.
I can't move it. Oh, doesn't matter. I will park it over here.
There it is.
No, it's okay. No. Is that okay there, Pete?
That's fine.
Lovely. All right, then. So, Pete, over to you, mate.
All right, well, let's get underway. We're going to be looking at another Saturday, and we're going to be looking at the 13th of June, Saturday the 13th. 13 is sort of regarded by the superstitious as being unlucky, but I think you'll see after we review this day that it was anything but for anybody that considered to trade.
Hey, Pete, is there any particular theme we're working on today, or is it just a general review?
Well, it'll be a general review, but I'll sort of interweave it with perhaps some comments that will hopefully address Terry's concerns and queries.
So just to fill everybody else in, Terry knows what we're talking about, but Terry emailed us yesterday saying, hey, I'm not finding many trading opportunities. Am I doing it wrong, or just not many trading opportunities because of the time of year? So that's the gist of it, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah, so the answer is, Terry, I think before we pass judgment on your selection abilities, it would be a good idea if you sent me a couple of sample data sheets so that I can oversee how you're operating. But if even if you are operating correctly, we must take into account that this isn't a punting program. It's not designed to go hell for leather and find as many races to bet on as possible. It's quite the opposite with this. I mean, this is a money program. It's a mathematically operated program. So the idea is a large percentage of the work is done already in terms of the indicators that are created and the basic format and layout of the progressive money flow and so on. And the idea is to pick the races that offer the highest probability of producing a winning outcome and a profitable outcome. And that is achieved by working within the guidelines and operating the system correctly as per the trading recommendations. So, the idea is less is more with this rather than, quantity. I suppose the ideal outcome on when you use this software is to make a favourable profit with minimal betting activity, which is exactly what people who have got no punting bent are seeking, I would think.
I agree. Malcolm talks a lot about actually being very, very selective. I mean, Malcolm has a trading record of around about 82.5%, and only somebody as accurate as Malcolm could come up with a number like that. Which we love. That's important stuff. So, and I'm sure he'll correct me if I've actually got that number incorrect in the question box, because I know he's on the line today. So look, it's about being selective, and it's okay to have a day of one or two trades.
Very much so. I mean, it's far better. So. To be scrutinising in that fashion. And
so, of course, Malcolm's weighed in and said it's better than that. Thanks, Malcolm.
Yeah, which is really good. But there are days, Terry, just to answer you specifically, there are days where the selection opportunities are few and far between, but that's where patience comes in with this. I suppose it's a bit like having a business, like a retail outlet. you know, some days you're overwhelmed with custom and other days very few people come in, but that doesn't mean you close the shop and go home. You've just got to accept that's the ebb and flow of business, and it's a bit like that with this program. There are some days you might have, you know, quite a few trading opportunities. I mean, today will be a good example of that, but other days sometimes produce very, very few opportunities, and I guess the key is to be consistent, be disciplined, and stick to your guns and work the system correctly, irrespective of the volume of opportunity.
Yeah. So let's get you sending through a couple of data sheets, please, Terry, and we'll be able to speak more specifically about those trading days. And you know, if there's one or two that you've missed, then we might be able to make that slight course adjustment to get you on target.
And I guess in order to avail yourself of the most potential opportunities on any day, make sure that, particularly in the early stages, you select preferentially all race meetings featuring in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, with the option of Western Australia as well. Don't worry about New Zealand or all those places like that, because invariably the pools aren't as big as they are in Australia. And furthermore, the reason why we single out the meetings in, I suppose, the eastern seaboard states, for want of a better expression, is because they're more closely aligned with the New South Wales TAB. And so I guess the betting representation is perhaps a little bit more true to form than if we were opting to trade in South Africa or Hong Kong or wherever. I mean, that doesn't mean you can't do it, but if you if you want me to be able to review and do an analytical assessment of what you're doing, if you select meetings in these other places other than the states I've mentioned, then I won't be able to assess because we don't collect.
No, and also remember, just as one other thing, is we are looking at the prize pools in New South Wales. So we're talking about people betting into the prize pool in New South Wales on those venues. So, you know, whilst you might be able to see races in Pretoria or in Hong Kong, but it's the number of people in New South Wales who are betting on those venues. So we're looking at the race through the lens of the New South Wales TAB. So it's just not going to give us the numbers that we were looking for.
Absolutely.
Lawrence has just asked here, will we cover percent return? Absolutely.
Oh yes, we're going to be doing with all that today. All right, let's get underway with the very first opportunity. Now, this is the second race of the day, mind, and it presents as a potential mega factor, as we can see. Because it's a Saturday, of course, the pools are pretty big right from the word go, so no concern about meeting the minimum requirement of $8,000. Now we can see the basic indicators are in place, a $2 favourite with an associated 3.20 money gap, which is considerably bigger than the minimum requirement of multiple 2. If we go to percentage return to get a perspective there, it's much the same. It's held its own, 3.2 percentage return separator and 3.2 money gap in trifecta. If we look at the actual money representation over several intervals, you can see quite clearly that there is a build-up of money dominance as we go along, and sort of consistent strength of money for runner 2. And if I go back and the win dividend doesn't change, it remains at $2 over that period of time. But I think there are sufficient grounds here, given that it's a race at a place called Rose Hill, which is a major metropolitan Saturday meeting. This would be a fair enough mega factor, and you can see that the selections for second and third have been brought right down to runner 8. You could stop at runner 4. I mean, there's no, that's an option that could be quite acceptable because you're covering 80% of the money, which is one of the basic requirements. But the reason why the extra 2 runners have been added is because of the similarity of money here with the money here. So instead of having 20 combinations, I suppose we've mitigated risk a little bit more by bringing the selections down to 8, and that gives us 30 combinations, which is well within the 42 maximum. So that's our first trading opportunity and a mega factor. All right, so we go now to SRO3, and this of course is not a trifecta, as we can see, but we go to percentage return. Now, sorry, no, my mistake. This is one I was going to talk about later. We'll go to MRO4, so that I don't confuse everybody. Okay, now remember, with percentage return, the new, I suppose, trading format with percentage return, in most instances we are including favourites in groups, whether or not they're weak or strong. The only difference between a weak favourite and a strong favourite is that if the favourite is considered to be strong, that is if it's holding more than 25% of the money, or it's at the top of the field with its own red separator, or it's a new favourite created at the 1 minute mark, it is always deemed to be a strong favourite, and that means it must be added to any groups that are considered as trading groups. There's no option. There's no room, room for variation. If the favourite is considered to be a weak favourite, it can be traded against if certain indicator requirements are met. And here, of course, the first we look for, because we've got a weak favourite, number 9, holding 20.66%. So that means that the next thing we look at to see is to see if we've got a group of runners that's money competitive with our weak favourite to stack up against it. And indeed we have 5, 6, 7 and 2 defined by the separator, and you can see quite clearly in the cumulative dollars column and at the 1 minute column that group of runners is truly money competitive with the money support for the favourite. On top of that, our group is holding more than 47.5% of the cumulative money, right? 20.66 away from 76.55. And on top of that, our favourite, even though it's sitting at the top of the field, has no numbers in the WUP column, and it's showing a positive value in the UDIF column. If it was showing numbers in the WUP column or a negative value in the UDIF column, of course we'd have to add the favourite to our group. But here we can quite happily trade with that truly money competitive group against our weak favourite for a return of just on the 50%, which is the minimum requirement. All right, so I suppose the point to be made here is that even though in most instances you're adding favourites to groups, it is important to when all the indicators stack up, to be quite happy to trade against weak favourites, because that can very often create a trading opportunity that's a winning one, such as in this instance with number 5 being the winning runner. Okay, we move on now to ARO4. All right, so we look here and we see going to cover in trifecta, we're going to cover the top 2 runners for first, just basic selections. Now the top three runners are holding 68.62% of the money, and remember that if the percentage held by a group of runners is between 67.5 and 70, and the defining money gap is 1.7 or bigger, and the money profile is in support, then we can make a percentage allowance for second, which is what we've done here. If you go to percentage return, you can see that the separator locations here support the money gap locations in trifecta. So quite happily we're going to trade, because you can see there is definitive tiers of money here. You've got the main money for these two runners, strong secondary money for runner 11, and then of course it starts to reduce below that point. And third, of course, has to go all the way to the bottom. So that gives us 28 combinations. And if we go to percentage return, we've got another trading opportunity in percentage return, because the top two runners run a strong favourite, number 4, runner 1, 4 and 1 is our trading group, holding 55.25% of the money, clearly dominant cumulative money here, clearly dominant in the betting here and here and here and all the way back. So, I mean, this is the sort of, I know I say this repeatedly, but this is the sort of trading opportunity that beginners need to concentrate on when they start out with their trading operations. I mean, if initially you want to start trading, and the recommendation is, of course, to ease yourself into it, not go into it in a full-blown fashion, the bull at a gate. These are the opportunities, the sort of opportunities that you want to latch onto, because they do produce a pretty good strike rate. And because of the strength of the money has been all the way along for these two runners, it's not surprising that we've had a winning outcome.
So, Lawrence, did you get that percent return? Is that the sort of info that you're looking for there? And just while Lawrence is answering that question, I actually spoke with Peter the other day about, and this is a choice that you can make, and Peter had a good point, is that, just go back to the percent return if you don't mind, Pete.
Yeah, sure. Where am I?
Now, in my program, how I've got mine set up is I actually have removed the requirement or changed the requirement in percent return for the program to show in red here strong favourites. If you, those who have been with us for a long time would know that we used to try to ignore strong favourites. Now we are looking to accept strong favourites, and in my head I go, right, well, I'm looking for green markers. Anything red, I move on. I know that's a very broad statement, and those who are using the program really focus on a daily basis are going to look further into those red indicators. So what I do with the program is I actually want to look at races that are over, so I've actually changed in my rules to be green between 25 and 40, and then underneath that it goes red. But look, that's just a little tweak that you might choose to do. But remember, here, and those new people, I've been asked a couple of times, hang on, it's red, I shouldn't bet. Well, actually, in this particular circumstance, we're just asking you to look at it and take notice of the favourite holding 31%. We've got that set at over 25. So just to take notice, and we should include him. So he's in red, not to eliminate, but to include. Isn't that right, Pete?
That's exactly right. So why I think it's important to leave it as it is, particularly when you're starting out, is that you want to identify, one of the first things in percentage return you want to do is identify, which runner the favourite is for a start, and determine whether it's a strong or weak favourite. And by having the indicator there, of course, you can readily identify that very quickly, and you should immediately know then, intuitively, well, if it's a strong favourite, I've got to have it in any group that I select. I've got no choice. If it's a weak favourite, as I discussed in that previous race, well, I might trade against it. I might trade. There's every chance I'll be trading with it included, but equally I could possibly trade against it if all the indicators are correct and in place to do that. All right. Now another percentage return here. Now, as you can see, number 3 is our very weak favourite. I mean, it's sitting at quite unusual to see a favourite sitting right down halfway down the runner list. But you know, such is the nature of percentage return, is that what we're trying to do is concentrate on the market money support at the business end of things over the last 5 intervals. So sometimes a runner can be a favourite in terms of the overall money support it's attracting, in which case it'll have the lowest win dividend on offer. But in the last 5 minutes, it's not the premier runner in the field that people want to bet on. So in this instance, the favourite has well and truly lost late market favour. And of course these 4 runners above it are dominating over it. Now, main reason I wanted to focus on this was there might be some of you out there saying, well, hang on a minute, why didn't he include selections down to the red separator? Because we're always saying that groups have got to be are not complete unless they're identified by and defined by red separators. And the reason is that we're dealing with a weak favourite here, and so what the next thing we're doing is looking to see if we have a money competitive group with that weak favourite, which we do, 2, 9, 4 and 5, because they're all runners sitting above it and they've all attracted more cumulative money than the favourite. Now, so that means we're going to trade potentially with 2, 9, 4 and 5 against 3. So even though the separator defining separator is down at 3, I guess it's the defining separator for group 2, 9, 4, 5 and 3. We're trading with 2, 9, 4, 5 against 3, so it's the de facto separator defining our trading group. And I hope that sort of is clear to everybody. So in this instance, because we're trading against the weak favourite, the separator at that level is the de facto defining separator for our trading group.
Is everybody okay with that? Any comments, thoughts or questions?
Silencio.
All right. Or they're typing, frantically typing.
Now here we go with another percentage return.
Yep, Doug's all good. Okay, thanks, Doug.
All right, so here's another percentage return. Now I won't go into detailed explanation because once again we've got a situation where potentially we're going to trade against a weak favourite.
Hey Pete, do you want to, sorry, because this is interactive, can we just go back to that race? Daniel's just asking to have a quick look at the trifecta on that.
Yes, which one was it? SRO 5, hang on a minute. Where are we? Okay, now selection outcome at the 1 minute interval in trifecta would be thus.
Do you want to take it back to default selections and just fill it in for the...
Yeah, sure can. Yep. All right, so all that's needed to be done is to bring the...
Yep.
Right, the first place group down to the money gap. So we've got basic selections first and second and down to runner 1, 4, third. And that gives us a guideline breach, dollars on top combo. Yes, the combinations are okay. They're right on the maximum of 60, but the dollars on top combo amount is not acceptable. So that means that the money spread over those 60 combinations could be too thin to, I suppose, heighten the maximise the probability of getting a profitable return. And remember, that's what we're trying to achieve with the selections that we make. We want to target races that offer the highest probability of a winning outcome and a profitable outcome. If either or both of those things are not in place, as indicated by the guidelines, then they're not worthwhile races to be investing your money on.
Perfect.
Okay, so we move on now to MR06, and this is virtually, I guess, a facsimile of a couple of races that we've talked about already. Weak favourite, money competitive group against the weak favourite. This time it's 6 runners, which is about the limit of what you'd get. I guess the only reason we can have a group of 6 is because the money spread is so even in this race. And it is a race at Flemington, so it's probably one of the more premium events, and so you know the standard of thoroughbred would be pretty high, and I guess the money reflects that. It's sort of evenly distributed over a large number of runners in the field. But once again, you can see we've got a situation where our group is holding more than 47.5%, and the favourite is showing no numbers in the WUP column and a positive value in the UDIF column. Therefore, we can quite happily trade against it.
Sorry, I've just got on the SR5. Sorry to make you go back there again.
It's all right.
Richard's just asking you to have a look at the percent return. And is this the one, Richard, you're talking about, SR5? Yep. So Richard's saying that he would not be comfortable removing the favourite because it's still got a significant more amount of money than the next horse down over the last 5 minutes. Now, was the structure of our trade, was that to remove horse?
No.
So Richard, just to bring your remember that the favourite's number 3 all the way down the field there. The one at the top, number 2, is not the favourite.
No, that's right. Remember that we're looking for...
Oh, so no, what he's saying is that number 3 in the 1 minute mark has $1,400 versus number 2 with $1,200.
Yes, but I mean, if you look here at the cumulative money, look at the cumulative money over the last 5 intervals for runner 2. That's why it's sitting at the top of the field. Right? It's attracted overwhelming money support in the dying stages of the race. Yes, it's attracting less money at 1 minute, but you know, because of the support, the consistent support over the last 5 minutes, it's regarded as the runner that's, you know, most popular in the betting, and it's part of this group. So you've got to look at the overall group, and I mean, look at the money dominance here. All of these runners are attracting more cumulative money than the favourite, and 3 out of the four anyway are attracting significantly more 1 minute money. And if you look at runner 2 at the support it got at 2 minutes, it more than compensates.
Yeah. So I guess you either so you can follow the way that we do it and I guess cop the loss, or add in number 3 and miss a loss.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's your choice to make, of course. I mean, you've got to decide what the priorities are right for you. But what I'm trying to indicate here, that this is a race that would be quite appropriately a trading race against a weak favourite.
Yep. And
I think it is important when these opportunities do present and all the indicators stack up in favour of that. It's a pretty good idea to take them, because, you know, I mean, there aren't all that many available normally, and you know, more often than not, if all the indicators are stacking up, it will give you the outcome you're seeking.
So Richard's just saying that he wouldn't have traded it, and that's great, and that's entirely.
fine.
You know, these sessions are here to provide you the I wouldn't say dogmatic, but certainly
No, not at all.
the way that is going to be shown in the support portal and those trading sheets. But if somebody wants to have an opinion, I mean, there's people here in this list that will not trade anything like what we do and make more money, and that's totally okay.
That's fine. I mean, the important thing is that the decision you make is an objective, analytical one.
Yep.
Don't make sort of subjective, whimsical decisions about. So don't adopt a pedantic approach and say, "Oh, I'd never trade against a weak favourite." You've got to look at all the indicators and prioritise those indicators, and that I guess that prioritisation will ultimately give you the way to go, and so that means that you can confidently decide on the outcome, and that means that at the end of the day you'll be happy with any activity that you've conducted, irrespective of the outcome. So if you decide that a race is a suitable one to trade because of your analytical assessment of the priorities, then you're going to be happy if it wins, but you're also going to be philosophical or more philosophical about losses that inevitably do happen. I mean, okay.
Yeah, look, Rich is just saying his approach might be more conservative than the party line. Yeah, I'm okay with the term party line, absolutely, but not but. And I applaud you for actually switching on and squeezing a bit of brain juice on this. That actually sounds a pretty horrible metaphor. I'm going to drop that from now on. But that's okay. We're nobody's ever been hung, drawn, and quartered for thinking.
No.
Not in this party anyway.
No.
Maybe some of the political ones, but certainly not in this one. So that's totally okay, Richard.
Oh, it's a complete vacuum of thought in political circles.
Jesus.
All right. Okay, so it's been interesting today because I mean this is an unusual day. We've had several instances where trading against the weak favourite would be quite acceptable, and this is another one, as you can see. I mean, you know, all the indicators that are required are in place to trade against this obviously weak favourite. I mean, number 6, it's sitting second in the field, and it's holding only 21.15%. So that means that you've got a runner number 5 that's attracted more cumulative money than the favourite. You've got 2 other runners underneath that are, so you're stacking 3 competitive runners up against 1, and you know that really heightens your probability of success, I think, from a monetary perspective. And once again, of course, number 2 has come first. So there's another opportunity that's produced a profitable outcome by conducting that analytical process and deciding to go down the road of trading against a weak favourite. Okay, we move on to the very next race, and this is pretty straight up and down, as you can see. It's just top 2 runners for first and down to number 4 for second and third to give us 40 combinations. Let's go over here. You can see that the separator locations in percentage returns support and endorse. In fact, the separator size in percentage return at the second runner is bigger than the money gap in trifecta. So that sort of endorses that the basic money gap selections best accommodate the prevailing money profile in this race.
Would you have taken this as a double bet, Pete? Would you have said I'm having it as a trifecta and as a percent return?
Yes, it is a double whammy.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, because you've got, once again, 51.95%, right? Strong favourite. Separator 1.71. Cleared, clearly dominant cumulative money. Dominant money here. Here. So yeah, I mean, quite acceptable. So once again, it bears out that it is important to get proficient at doing concurrent review of races. Anybody that's sort of is new to doing this, don't feel, oh, it's all too hard, and like I'll just do trifecta, or I'll just do percentage return. I'll forget about the other format. Spend a bit of time practicing reviewing concurrently from 5 minutes down. So you look in trifecta and then you look in percentage return. And that means that you can pick up on any sort of dual opportunities that come along, and very often get a double return.
Just a quick snap poll. How many people out there would actually have taken both trades? So which race was that, Pete? Sorry.
WRO2.
Yeah. So how many of you are there actually going to go ahead and do both trades? And Richard and Malcolm are saying yes, and Daniel is saying a Quinella opportunity, and absolutely they're an opportunity. Actually, Malcolm does Quinellas. Malcolm, would you do a Quinella or a trifecta percent return? Do you? I guess would be let's have a. Let me just be more specific. Would you rank trifecta percent return or Quinella as your trading style, Malcolm? So there you go. So Malcolm would do a percent, then a Quinella before trifecta. So there you go. So as I said, we always embrace new ideas. Really interesting. So Lawrence is currently focusing on percent return. Great. And quite a few of you there today. Actually, pretty much my entire screen filled up with people saying, "Yep, I'll take both." Bruce is a percent return guy, and Merv doesn't have didn't. Are you saying you didn't have Belmont because you didn't have it on that day, or you don't as a rule do it?
Yeah, I mean, Western Australia is an option. I mean,
don't as a rule. Okay.
Yeah,
Look, that's okay. Look, we have over the years softened our stance. Like in the past, Peter, haven't we? We've said last couple of years we've said forget West Australia altogether. In the last couple of years, we've certainly been including it into our data sheets.
Oh, absolutely.
But selectively, I think it's Belmont and Ascot are the two.
They are.
They're pretty much the only venues worth their consideration.
Yes.
So do have a look at that. Like maybe even just collect it. Have a look, and when something sits up, really perfectly, something you really want to do, then jump on. As I always say, be a sniper, not a machine gunist. Be really selective of the ones you hit.
Yeah, precisely. Great analogy.
Yeah, and some people also might not have all of Saturday to trade, so they'll be right. I can do Saturday late afternoon, and of course, Belmont and Ascot are going to give us that opportunity because they're a couple of hours behind us here in the east.
Yeah, I mean, they in Australia anyway, the Western Australian races generally are end by 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. thereabouts. I mean, it's a bit different in New Zealand. I guess it's a bit later, but 9 o'clock or whatever. But particularly Belmont and Ascot, they're the two major ones. I don't know if you'd sort of worry about Broome and these.
Manage them up.
No, I think you can forget about Albany and all these other places. But certainly the two metropolitans, I think, are quite well, popular and well patronised. I think George trades, on Ascot or Belmont, one of the two.
Yep.
Alrighty, we move on now to. And this is another strong percentage return. Now we've got
Thanks,
Now
Richard. I
notice,
won't be repeating that to the group, but Richard's not doesn't like to do late evening trading. Let's just say that.
that's quite acceptable, Richard. Now, as you can see here, we're going to trade with 1 and 4 as our favourites. Now, just for people who are a little bit sort of new to this, of course, when you click on this race, that's what you'd see at 1 minute, equal favourites. And of course, straight away, you would think to yourself, oh, well, equal favourites. We don't trade against equal favourites. But if the money support for those equal favourites is strong and all the indicators are in place, we're quite happy to trade with the equal favourites as our group of 2 runners. And if we're going to trade with strong favourites in a group of 2 runners, remember we've got to have a separator bigger than 1.7, we've got that. We've got to have the 47.5 minimum cumulative money support, we've got that. We've got dominant cumulative money here, dominant money here, dominant money here, here, right back to 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. So quite acceptable to trade with the favourites as your trading group. So if you can't beat them, join them, and that's what you're doing here, essentially.
That was pretty much my my philosophy when back in 2012 when Malcolm and George were giving me such a hard time. Can't beat them, join them.
All right, okay. Now here's a situation where we're trading with the weak favourite plus. No, we're not. We're not trading. When I picked this one out, this is the one I want to speak about. As you can see here, we've got 1, 2, 3 clearly identified as the dominant money runners in this race. The weak favourite, runner 16, runner 15. But as you can see here, we're not holding 47.5% of the money. So that means that trading group is not acceptable as it is, and we would have to add extra runners to make up the shortfall, 47.5%, which takes us out of the race. So that's an important point for particularly new operators. Don't get carried away and look at just 1 or 2 of the indicators, and you need to look at the whole complement of indicators that do decide whether a race is a trading race or not. So it's not a matter of just looking at a money gap or looking at the separator size or looking at one money column and saying yeah that's good, I'll do it. It's a matter of looking at them all and making sure that they're all in place, and if they're all in place, then it's your choice to proceed or not.
Yeah, good.
And I think this is the final offering for the day. Now this time we're trading with a strong favourite in a group of 3 runners, doubly strong as you can see. Number 2, 26.5%, strong favourite, and of course it's at the top of the field with its own red separator, which is another indicator of a strong favourite. So clearly the dominant runner in this race, as you can see by the cumulative money. We're covering 3 runners down to the separator of 1.83, 55.4% of the money, and quite surprisingly the return stays over the 50%. So here's another trading opportunity to sort of finalise things for the day. I might say that when you click on a race and you see a strong favourite and perhaps the defining separator 2 down from the top, or 3 down from the top rather, don't just immediately think, oh well, it wouldn't be, the return wouldn't be any good. Make sure that you check to see that the group is indeed invalid in terms of the return, because surprisingly, like here, the return is quite acceptable. So it continues to be an acceptable trading opportunity with another winning outcome, as you can see, runner 2 being the winner. Not surprisingly, when you look at the dominant money support for the favourite. I mean, quite overwhelming in the latter stages.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that sort of wraps it up. Now we'll go and have a look at the outcome, and this is the sort of day that you dream about. I mean, I don't think we might have had one loss the whole day, right? So it's like full on, and so these are the sorts of days when when you're hot, and when you're not, you're not.
This is actually after our previous live data sheet review, so hopefully everybody that was online on that day was all jazzed up after Pete's instruction and dove into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it very much highlights that profit can be well and truly made with this if you trade consistently and correctly. And these are the kind of days, if you get away to a flyer, I would suggest that you keep going until you have a loss. Once you get up to around about, if you've had no losses, yeah. So, I mean, let's trace this through. I mean, we got away to a flyer here down to here. We're down to here. Now, the first loss was here. Now, I mean, at SR05, you could quite happily say, well, that's it, me for the day.
800 in the bank.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. My run of luck is concluded. I'm quite happy to take the money, put it in my pocket, and go and enjoy the rest of the day. I mean, sure, if you traded on, you would have made considerably more, but you're not to know that. So nobody's got a crystal ball or is a clairvoyant. So, on days where you get away to a flyer, don't sort of opt out too early. If you get to a reasonable level of profit and you're getting up towards sort of $400-500, then you can, I guess, and you have a profit fallback level. That's the key, I believe, on very good days, is to not only have a ceiling that you're working towards, a profit ceiling, but to have a profit protection fallback level so that you never ever end up on a day like that making nothing or going into loss. So you sort of look at it and you say, well, I'm up to $400, $500. My fallback level is at least $200. I can afford to have another percentage return trade. If I lose it, well, I'm still above my profit protection limit. If I have a trifecta trade, I'll go below my profit protection limit if I lose it. So therefore, that means I've got to be much more stringent in my analytical observations.
Could you take a $200 trifecta?
Oh, you could do, yeah.
Yeah.
You can change it, yeah, of course you can. But I mean, most people, I believe, would be trading
Two and four.
for $200. And yeah. I mean, I'm talking about, I believe that, as we can see on a day like today, with a $200 betting amount in trifecta and $100 in percentage return on a really good day, you can get up to that, $300-400 quite readily.
Nice.
And so the key is to, once again, I guess, bottom line, monitor your progress and be prepared to take the profit where you think it's too good not to protect. Don't want to give it back to the TAB.
No, they've got enough.
In the pocket is the best place. So that sort of wraps it up today, folks. I hope that's been of some benefit to you all. And
look, Pete, I really enjoyed this format, and I think that I would like to continue to come here to do these sessions. I think the flow is easier, and it just works better for the customers. So you're happy to host me every 2 weeks?
Absolutely.
Your building.
Problems.
Okay.
Problems.
Not that I'm homeless. I have been for the last little bit, but we do move into our new home on Monday. So if you need to talk to me Monday, you'll have to move boxes with me if you want to talk to me on the Gold Coast. But from then I'll be available. So look, this has been a really good session. I've enjoyed today's session because people are really getting involved. People are getting it. People are really going, you know what? And like Lawrence at the beginning, can we talk about percent return? Well, as luck had it, not that luck has, we try to mitigate the amount of luck that's involved in our program, but as luck had it, there was plenty of percent return to talk about. Richard, thank you for your feedback there. And as always, Chris, I always read your comments with interest. I don't necessarily bring them to the rest of the group because I think that they're very specific, probably to the Adelaide group, and the Adelaide group's a very lucky group to have you on deck there a lot of the time. So if there's nothing else, Pete, we may as well sign off, eh?
I think that's about it for today, Matt. I'd like to thank everybody for their attendance and look forward to your company again in a fortnight's time, folks.
Fantastic. And if anybody wants us to concentrate on something in particular, then send us an email. Terry sent an email to just replied to the webinar at email address that comes to us. And if you want to, flick an email, hey, I'm concerned about this. You know what? We talked about it and addressed it live. And you know what? Everybody is usually in the same. Well, a lot of people are in the same boat. Have the surety we're not going to mock you for sending us an email. We're actually going to applaud you because you've taken some ownership and some responsibility for your business being the IQ Pro, and we're here to support you in that endeavour.
Quite correct. And I guess the final word is for me is to continue to be consistent, continue to be disciplined, and also, most important, be patient.
Look, our pleasure, guys. We'd love to get your feedback as always. And Terry, Terry's just saying he's been concentrating on trifecta, so maybe that's the reason for the reduced number. So Terry, still send through those data sheets. Please do send through the data sheets, or anybody who's got a question, or anybody who just goes, you know what, I didn't make bloody $1,100 last Saturday. Why not? Send the data sheet.
Absolutely.
Very simple. It's pretty simple stuff, but happy to keep talking about it because you know what, the person, as I'm going to see with my son's rugby game in about an hour, the team with the most ball probably is going to get the tries. So the people that fill out the most data sheets and ask the most questions are probably going to get the cookies.
That's about the bottom line.
Yep.
All right, folks, we have a great weekend, and we'll reconvene in a fortnight's time.
See you then, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye now.